I got cold feet when I learned details of Dawn of X. I humbly eat crow and admit I was wrong. Jonathan Hickman, at least initially, has a firm grasp on the X-Men franchise and story. X-Men readers have been in X-purgatory for many years now. Far too many creators didn't understand what makes X-Men special. Classic characters like Wolverine and Cyclops were thrown to the wayside to make a room for a host of Z-list actors. Other long-standing X-Men players like Kitty Pryde, Iceman, and Jean Grey were fundamentally altered by the whims of incompetent writers. The X-Men universe is on its third reboot in 2 years. Marvel Comics is taking a new approach on its latest mutant franchise relaunch. Marvel Comics brought in highly respected Jonathan Hickman, who previously excelled on Avengers and Fantastic Four, to direct the newest iteration of the X-Men. It's a welcome, needed change and admission of previous failures on Marvel's part. Details of the new X-Men line were revealed at San Diego Comic-Con recently. I'm not as enamored with everything Marvel Comics and Hickman announced as many others, but there's an enormous increase in writer quality. Hickman is keeping Ed Brisson and adding personal favorites Brian Hill and Benjamin Percy to the X-Men family. Hickman himself, the most accomplished writer of the group, is helming returning flagship series X-Men. There's plenty of reason for fans of Marvel's mutant heroes to be excited. The X-Men franchise wasn't fractured in a day. It won't be completely healed in short order either, but needed change is here. House of X and Powers of 10, both 6-issue miniseries, introduce readers to the new X-Men status quo and history leading into Dawn of X. House of X #1, written by Jonathan Hickman and illustrated by Pepe Larraz, is the first step in writing X-Men. Many readers are passionate for a return to X-Men's former glory. Hickman needs House of X #1 to have an impact and ease any worries fans of Marvel's mutant franchise may have. Is this truly the dawn of the new age of great X-Men books and stories? There's only one way to find out. Let's start with Pepe Larraz's art on House of X #1. This is easily the best illustrated X-Men book in years. The opening pages featuring mutants being born from a tree, similar to scenes from The Matrix, immediately raise expectations for X-Men moving forward. Larraz has a very smooth line art and a great sense of when to fill scenes with detail. This opening page isn't the best example, but he's very effective at setting tone with body language. I'm not the biggest fan of Professor X's stance here. It almost looks like he's prancing, but this isn't an issue the rest of the book. Some of the costume choices, like Professor X, could have been more inspired, but I'm not personally worried. There is a tremendous amount of change across the board to get used to. Pepe Larraz excels the most on House of X with his set designs. He fleshes every set piece out brilliantly with beautiful elements bringing Hickman's new X-Men universe to life. Here we see the Forge, the mutants' deep space fallback option in case a doomsday scenario occurs. It's completed in stunning detail and quite frankly just looks cool as hell with a giant robot head at its core. Color artist Marte Garcia's work can't go unmentioned. He breathes life into Larraz's dazzling illustrations. Together, they form a dynamic artistic team. Much of the issue is resetting the status quo with needed exposition. The book is a bit light on action, but Larraz and Marte get to shake their tail feathers in one scene late in the story featuring Sabretooth, Mystique, and Toad. It's realized in exciting fashion, leaving readers ready for more action-packed issues in the future. If the art in House of X #1 is any indication, Marvel Comics and Jonathan Hickman are very serious about rejuvenating the X-Men franchise. Pepe Larraz and Marte Garcia flesh out Hickman's vision with fantastic body language, set details, and breathtaking visuals. I rate the art 4.5 out of 5. Before I get into my analysis of Hickman's characterization and plotting on the book, I want to mention another set of key story aids. Strewn throughout the issue are excellent reference materials. They provide critical details about the current state of the world and the plans of Charles Xavier and the mutants. It adds to the overall reading time, but I personally love these types of resources. They provide a tremendous amount of value. A+ to the creative team for adding these materials. Now I'm going to highlight what I think are crucial scenes of characterization in House of X. After the initial birthing scene, we're taken to Israel, where a group of ambassadors are readying for a meeting with the X-Men. Charles Xavier offered world governments 3 medicines in exchange for acknowledgement of mutant sovereignty on the island of Krakow. One that adds 5 years to human life, another heals diseases of the mind, the third is the most adaptive antibiotic the world has ever seen. This is a fascinating development, an enormous leverage play on Professor X's part. What nation can afford to say no and not face immediate insurrection from their own people? It feels more like a play from Magneto's playbook, but readers quickly learn several things are amiss in the X-Men universe. Next, the diplomats meet their mutant counterpart, Ambassador Magneto. They're bewildered, learning mutants are developing their own Krakowan language. Mutants culturally distancing themselves from humans is a dangerous development. Also, Charles isolated their island home of Krakow. Humans aren't allowed to travel there through the teleportation tunnels mutants created. You start to get an idea what Charles is doing, but the full extent isn't fully spelled out in the end. Sabretooth, Mystique, and Toad later break into damage control, searching for crucial data. The Fantastic Four give chase, capturing Sabretooth, leading to a particularly intense standoff between Cyclops and Marvel's first family. Cyclops asks for Sabretooth's return under an amnesty agreement. Reed Richards protests, and the two have a terrific stare-down. Cyclops comes off as a complete badass, fearlessly confronting the superhero team. Before he acquiesces and exits, Scott drops an emotional bombshell on Sue Storm. Jonathan Hickman does superb work re-establishing many of the key players and lays the foundation for the new status quo in the X-Men universe. Magneto and Cyclops are presented as enormously powerful and even menacing. In fact, I would go as far to say it's not completely clear if Charles Xavier and his mutants are the good guys here. The characterization in House of X #1 is outstanding. I rate it 4.5 out of 5. Finally, I'm going to cover the plot without getting too spoiler heavy. I really think everyone should read this book and experience it for themselves. Jonathan Hickman's greatest strength as a creator is long-form storytelling. I get the feeling he's mapped out the first few years of his X-Men arc, which is a great change for the franchise. After the initial scene at the tree, the ambassadors are met by clone sisters Esme and Sophia, who lead them to Ambassador Magneto. The mutant dignitaries confer with a team of human diplomats and explain some of their future plans after gaining sovereignty. The story then moves to the mutant island of Krakow. This is where the flowers used to create the medicines are harvested. That's not the only thing the mystical flowers do. Some create gateways allowing mutants to travel across the world instantaneously. Others create habitats linked to the consciousness of the island. The plot then slows down during the introduction to the Forge. Built on the bones of a planet killer, it's erected for a doomsday scenario. The Forge is operated, funded, and managed by several Earth-based organizations including AIM, SHIELD, and Strike. There's a lot great in this book, but this is easily the most boring part in my opinion. Even though the giant robot head reveal is really cool, the book ends in exciting fashion. Mutants break into damage control, leading to the encounter between Cyclops and the Fantastic Four. The finale is my favorite part of the story. Magneto informs the group of ambassadors mutant sovereignty exists whether they accept Charles' deal or not. He didn't invite them to negotiate. He invited them for a counterintelligence operation. Esme and Sophia have been scanning their minds the entire time to learn who they are and what their home nation intentions are. This revelation was spectacular and indicates mutants are united and planning very strategically. Magneto ends the story with the line, "You have new gods now." This is the beginning of a very ambitious story from Jonathan Hickman. The information is delivered very effectively, but it is a lot to take in. He leaves many questions unanswered, which leaves portions of the plot a bit confusing by design. There's also plenty of connective tissue to past X-Men stories and events, but new readers will be able to pick up House of X as a starting point. I rate the plot 4 out of 5. Before I give my final thoughts and overall score for the book, I want to let everyone know this Saturday, right here on Thinking Critical, comics aficionados are debating House of X #1 and the Dawn of X announcements from San Diego Comic-Con. If you want to be part of the discussion, join us live. We'll be taking viewer questions and giving many different points of view on Hickman's new X-Men. Jonathan Hickman's X-Men universe contains a lot of the core elements I think can be detrimental to a healthy X-Men franchise. However, it appears he's more than up to the challenge. After reading House of X #1, I expect much brighter days ahead for Marvel's mutant heroes. Pepe Larraz and Marte Garcia's visuals are fantastic. Jonathan Hickman is at his best with long-term, fully developed stories. He does great work introducing readers to key elements while maintaining an air of mystery to his X-Men universe. I rate House of X #1 4.5 out of 5 overall. I highly recommend House of X not just to X-Men fans, but all comic readers. The art and storytelling are the finest quality. There is a good deal of connective tissue with X-Men lore, but new readers should have no issues using House of X as a jumping on point to the franchise. Hickman and the staff at Marvel loaded the book with fantastic reference material to catch everyone up on the new X-Men status quo. I got cold feet when I learned details of Dawn of X. I humbly eat crow and admit I was wrong. Jonathan Hickman, at least initially, has a firm grasp on the X-Men franchise and story. Thank you very much for viewing my House of X review, and I hope you join me live Saturday morning for the comics aficionados Jonathan Hickman X-Men debate. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.